Hello, thank you for clicking on this video. Today, we are going to be reviewing The Well of Ascension by, of course, Brandon Sanderson. Let's jump into it. The purpose of a storyteller is not to tell you how to think, but to give you questions to think upon. This quote by Brandon Sanderson perfectly describes how he writes his books. He is so amazing at giving you as a reader questions to think upon. And by the time you finally get one of these questions answered, you have 2 or 3 more questions that are unanswered. And I just love how intriguing that makes these books. He does such a great job of making you ask questions without spoon-feeding you the questions. Just the way he writes allows you to think deeply and wonder about this interesting world he's written. So, what else do I like about this book? Of course, the characters. Ellen in this book grows so much. Ellen steps into a leadership role in this kingdom. And the beginning of this book, he is very idealistic, has a lot of big thoughts, big ideas, and throughout the course of this 700-something page book, he has to face the harsh realities of being a leader and has to come to terms with a lot of things that a younger him wouldn't have accepted. There's a quote, I believe this is when he was with Tyndall. A man can only stumble for so long before he either falls or stands up straight. Sazed and Tyndall. Tyndall is a older woman who has come and has been training him on how to act more king-like and how to be a better leader. And every time we see these two together in this book, it is just so interesting watching them interact. There are so many duos in this book that the characters are great on their own, but then for whatever reason, when they're put together, it's magic. So Sazed and Tyndall are a great example of that. Another great example of that is Vin and her Khandra Orseer. Vin obviously is a phenomenal character on her own, but you really see a different side of her when she's alone with her Orseer. She has, in this book, turned into a killing machine, a protector. And there's a lot of times where she's alone with this Khandra, and they have interesting conversations, and you get to see a side of her that is unknown before this book, and it's very interesting. Another duo that I just love in this book is Sazed and Tyndall. Sazed also is a character that I loved before this book and I love on his own. But again, you put him with Tyndall and you really see a whole new side of him that's just so unique and so interesting. Around everyone else, he is the same person. But then you put him around Tyndall, and the same with Tyndall. You put Tyndall around Sazed, and they act a little differently, and their chemistry is just so unique. I think that's a huge strength of Brandon Sanderson, is being able to write these scenes with specific duos that's just so unique. It happens in the 3rd book as well with characters we'll talk about in another video. But that is a massive strength of his. Other characters I really like in this book are the villains. Ellen Venture's father, Venture, I'm actually not sure what his first name is. He's a great villain. As well as Zane. Both of these characters are super strong characters that are easy to dislike. And I think it's important to have characters that you dislike so that the characters you like are even more likable. If every character was likable. I don't know if that would be that interesting. I don't know, maybe I'm wrong, but I really like having characters that are easy to hate. And this book provides really strong characters that are easy to hate. Another aspect of this book that I really like is the setting. It picks up very well off the second book, but this book is a lot slower than the first book. And even in the scenes that are slower, he'll describe the setting, and it's just so unique. In this world, there's ash falling from volcanoes, known as ash mounts, and there's mists that come alive, and the way he describes these mists that are slowly coming into the daylight and you don't know why, and the way he describes the ash that starts falling heavier but you don't know why, and the red sun and just this dying world is just so intriguing. And not only is it intriguing, but it's beautiful in a way, and it makes the scenes without action great, but then it makes the scenes with action so much stronger because you already have this knowledge of how the world looks so vividly. It's just a great aspect of this book. Another really strong part of this book is the plot twists. Brandon Sanderson is a master at crafting plot twists. Some of these are completely out of left field that you never would have seen coming, and some of them have been slowly built upon and slowly crafted throughout the entire book. And when it finally happens, it hits you, and you can look back and see that this has been coming for a while. And those are the best kind of plot twists. When you can look back and tell, oh, I could have seen this coming. It just makes it that much better. He also has great plot twists that just come out of nowhere, that are just, you never could have seen coming, and those are great as well. I won't get into any spoilers, but there are so many plot twists in this book, and not just in the ending. Throughout this book, there are plot twists that hit. But speaking about the ending, this might be the strongest aspect of Brandon Sanderson, is his ability to write endings. I cannot wait to read The Way of Kings and the Stormlight Archive and other Brandon Sanderson novels, because he just has such an ability to wrap up a book. I could be wrong, but I feel like writing the ending for a middle book in a trilogy should be difficult. But he just nailed it in this book. I mean, the ending in this book hit, and there was maybe 75 pages left. And I was expecting these last maybe 50 pages. I was expecting these last pages just to summarize the ending of this book. Everything made sense, and prepare for the third book. And in the last 50 pages, so much more happened that I never could have expected. And it was just go, 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 go for the last 250 pages of this book. This book is a lot slower in the beginning and the middle of this book, but boy, it picks up at the end. But even in the slower parts, before reading this book, I thought that pacing was very important for my review of a book. But boy, I was wrong. The pacing is not nearly as important when the characters are as strong as they are. And the characters in this book are just incredible. I haven't even touched on Vin. Vin is just such a great character in this book. Her and Elend are also a duo that when they're together, you see a side of them that you don't really see. Vin, coming from the last book, there was such an emphasis on trust, and it's just built even further in this book. Her willingness to trust and her struggles with that are such an interesting part of this book, and it's relatable in a lot of ways. I think that anyone can find a character that you can relate to in these books. There are so many side characters in these books as well, in this book especially as well, that develop so much. Breeze really stands out to me. In the first book, there's a lot of characters in this crew, and the first book, there's just not enough time to flesh all of them out. And they really Sanderson really fleshes out a lot of those characters in this book. And Breeze really stood out to me. He was very one-dimensional in the first book, which I didn't have a problem with. But getting to see through that kind of facade that he puts out in this book was just super, super interesting. So, yeah, I mean, I just absolutely love this book. I would easily rate this a 5-star. That makes Brandon Sanderson 2 for 2 on 5 stars. I can't wait to continue reading more. Yeah, thank you guys for watching.